Welcome to the She Wins podcast. I'm your host, Heather Sumlin, and today I have a special guest. I have Jaime and Karissa, who both were former Miss Marylands. They now are partnered together for Here She Is podcast, and they had me on their show not too long ago. And so I wanted to have them on mine. And it's a great conversation. I can't wait for you to hear more from Jaime and Karissa. Here she is. Okay, ladies, I'm so excited to jump into a conversation. I was honored to be on your podcast. Here she is, not too awful long ago. And so, what I want to do is give you a chance to give a little bit of an overview of who you are and maybe a little about the podcast if you want to. So, who wants to go first? Jaime, since you were here first.
Okay. Well, I'm Jaime Fox Hardwick, and this is my dear friend and co-host.
Karissa Horowicz.
And we have been friends for probably over 30 years. I actually met Karissa when I was competing for Miss Maryland. I was her first runner-up. My first year, I was 17, very ignorant to how pageants worked and all the work that goes into that. And so I kind of was coming in there, you know, just figuring
Naive.
things out. Naive, yes.
Yeah.
Ignorant is probably not the right word. Naive. And
Okay, we call it delusional confidence.
yeah, delusional confidence,
Yes.
which I still have today, I
Yes,
think.
so do I. That's why we're such good friends.
That's what it takes, right?
And so I was Chris's first runner-up, and then a few years later, I went on to become Miss Maryland myself in 1997. Karissa was Miss Maryland 1994. And so over the years, we've kind of fallen in and out of touch. But a few years ago, we reconnected and we decided that we just wanted to do something special together. We kind of feel like we have a great chemistry. And so we decided to put together a podcast. And we have kind of an interesting, I think, approach to our podcast. And Chris, I'll let you talk about that.
So, yeah, thanks, Jaime. First of all, I just have to say, because we don't really get a chance to talk about ourselves or each other and the podcast, that how incredibly honored I am and almost in a way blown away over the fact that Jaime and I have known each other for so long and come in and out of each other's lives and ended up here. And I'm not saying the end, but that we've come together here. And I do feel that things continue to pull us together and then apart and then together. And I just feel really honored to be able to be working with her on this project, this passion project for both of us. But what it really is we've talked many times, I think, about just women who've competed, who we've competed with in the Miss America system. And everybody, I think, who's competed says, oh, I wonder whatever happened to. And when you think about it, you don't really know unless you're on Facebook with them or have competed with them. And we realized, I mean, one thing that Jaime and I both love is seeing others succeed. And that's something we always have had in common as well. And pulling other women up and other people up. I think we both say that we see potential in others when they don't see it. Both of us see that, and we want so badly for them to succeed. But really what it came down to is we know the value and the power that the Miss America organization, the platform it provides for women to step into who they are and help them determine who they are. And our goal is really to figure out, by talking with everyone, who are they and what became of them since they competed in Miss America. Jaime, feel free to add to that.
No, just exactly what you said. I mean, a lot of times I feel like young women think that the pinnacle is the crown, being Miss Maryland or Miss Texas or winning Miss America, and only one person can be Miss America. So what happens after that? And we've found so many patterns in the way that women's lives have kind of worked out and the things that they learned from their experience in Miss America that kind of played a role, good, bad, or different, because not everybody has, the happy ending that they are expecting or hoping for. And we've seen a lot of women have kind of ups and downs, ebbs and flows, but they all sort of go back to what they learned in those years competing and have pulled themselves up by the bootstraps and made something great out of their lives. So it's been really great, really interesting way to look at things.
You know, Heather, many years ago, Heather Whitestone was my Miss America,
Hmm.
and I'm really proud of that. She's an amazing person. But many years ago, she invited all of us to come to her house. Now, when you competed, social media wasn't a thing,
Right.
so staying in touch wasn't as simple as it is now. But Heather invited us to come together, and I want to say maybe 20 of us showed up. And I was really nervous about going because I had not really been in contact or seen any of these women since we competed. And that's a different mindset
Hmm.
than just showing up and hanging out for a weekend. But anyway, when we arrived, we all sat down on the floor and talked until about 4 in the morning. And everyone went around in the circle and talked about their life. And I realized just how rich and beautiful and challenging, there were a lot of challenges, all of that was. And of course, I'm not going to tell their story, but I think that's another reason for platforming all of these women, because there's so much to be told.
What's really cool is it was one of your Miss America sisters that introduced you to me because I competed with her in Colorado the year that she won. And then y'all were all at Miss America celebrating Sadie Schermeyer, who's Miss Texas, because her mom, Arian, was your Miss Texas that year. And so
Yeah.
y'all all had come together to watch Miss America together. And then Shalene's like, well, Heather, you should do the podcast. Do you want to do the podcast? I'm like, I would love to. That would be so much fun. And then that's how we all met. And
Yeah.
I think it's brilliant what you're doing. I think it's important. I think people, no matter whether you win or not, just participating in the organization, I think it takes a certain type of person to want to do pageant, especially the Miss America system, because it requires so much of you. You have to be very well-rounded, articulate, talented, willing to put yourself in a position to be judged on your likability and your appearance and your skills. I think it takes a certain person. And so whether you win or not, you're going to have something of value to share. So I have a question. When y'all competed, you had platforms because they started that, I think, probably right around the time when y'all were competing, and it was very, very new, if I recall correctly. I think wasn't it like 93 when the platform thing decided to show up? And we're all, oh, we're supposed to be in the community and caring about the community. Maybe we are, but now we have to do it in some sort of way that we can talk about. So what were your platforms and are you still involved with it today?
So I was kind of lucky in that respect because my parents were very involved in the American Legion my entire life and still are today. And so, kind of being involved in a veterans organization was just something that we did. We were always helping out at the Legion. I was performing already at a lot of these different events. So for me, it was really easy to roll that into my platform. My platform was kind of talking about respecting our veterans and flag education, all things about Americanism. That's what I took into the schools. I had a flag program about respecting the flag and just understanding what it means to be an American, and then also continuing to support the American Legion Auxiliary.
I love that. What about you, Carissa?
Well, I actually, when I started out in the local area, I started working with the DARE program and the local police department. And there was an officer named Officer Sprecher, and he was a really great mentor to me. Um, I got to go to all of his events with him and learn more just about the school system and also how kids were dealing with um, how they were dealing with challenges, not just in their lives, but also in with one another, conflict resolution. And so that experience evolved for me into conflict resolution, youth violence prevention. There were a lot there. That's when you were starting to see some shootings in schools. And so that's what my platform was. Yeah.
And today you're still doing conflict
I
resolution with
have three
three
boys.
boys.
I was
Oh,
gonna say that, but I didn't know. I was gonna say it challenged me. It was like, okay, you want to talk about this? Here we go. Here are three boys.
I think there's definitely conflict resolution if you have children at all, much less like three boys. You're gonna have to
Yes.
probably separate. I remember when I was a kid, my brothers are twins, and so my dad had bought them like boxing gloves,
Yeah.
and said, "All right, here's what we're gonna do. If you have a problem, you're gonna duke it out like outside with the
Yeah.
boxing gloves." I never had to, thank goodness. But yes, and I don't know if that was
Being a
a
mom
good parenting.
boy has definitely a different mentality. Jamie's,
Yeah,
I mean, a boy mom,
boy
excuse
mom.
me. Being a boy mom is a different mentality, and Jamie has all
Yeah,
boys as well.
that's another thing that Chris and I have in common. I have two boys and she has three boys.
Oh my goodness. I have one of each. I have a girl and a boy. So I've got, and they're like 8 years apart. So I kind of cheated, right? So I've got one kid was already 8 when the other one came around. So it's like they're two different, all the way around, completely different people. And it was like having two only children to an extent. So I feel like I cheated because I never had the two, like, really, you know.
I think maybe, that might add to why Carissa and I are so kind of passionate about this because we don't have the young girls to raise up and and see if they were interested in pageants. Neither of us have that, so it's fun to meet all the young women that are competing today and kind of help encourage them to be part of the program and everything like that. So this gives us another angle to do that.
A question I tend to ask everyone, and I'm curious each of your perspectives on this, is I feel like winning can be defined a lot of different ways. And I call my podcast tree wins, but it's not necessarily always about, and you mentioned it earlier, about the crown or about the success. Sometimes it's more than that. And so I'm curious how you would define winning.
You want me to go
Go
first?
for it, Jane.
Sure. You go ahead, James.
Well, I think definitely maturity has changed my definition of winning. It's not necessarily now of being the top dog or being the number one. It's more, how do I feel, especially as I get older? Did I win this thing or come out on top? And how do I feel about it? Do I feel good? Do I feel contentment? And that's really the kind of key word for me over the last 10 years, really, has been contentment. Is what I'm doing bringing me joy, or am I just sort of clawing away to get recognition? Um, and understanding the difference between those things. I definitely think when I was younger, I wanted that crown. I wanted to be the winner, come what may. And now that I'm older, I'm okay kind of being, I always joke at work, like, I'm okay being, upper middle. I don't have to be at the top where all the spotlight is on me because then the pressure just gets so, massive when you're at the very top. So I'm like, I like to fly just below the radar so that I can, enjoy my life, and my whole entity doesn't just become about work and all the achievements that I made, that I have the happiness component too. So, and I feel like I've finally have gotten to that point in my life where I'm kind of balancing things out to be like, yes, I work really hard at my job and I do well. I'm in technology, account management, sales, but I also incorporate so many other things into my life, like this podcast, photography. I still sing and songwrite, and I do all those things and spend time with my family, of course. And because I kind of have that balance of both of those things, I may not be the number one person at Presidio where I work, but I have a lot of quality of life. And to me, that's winning.
Mm-hmm.
I would agree. Quality of life would be for me as well. I mean, and I would say that defining winning depends on where you are in your life. And Jamie kind of hit on that. When I was younger, winning meant more concrete, if that's the right way to say
Mm-hmm.
it, goals. Winning Miss Maryland, I was a dancer, so getting a part in a performance, the recognition part was really
Mm-hmm.
important. I like flying under the radar a lot now too, but I like still making a difference. So flying under the radar doesn't mean comfort to me. It still means pushing myself. It's just that I don't need to prove to anybody that I'm doing it. I just want to see the outcome. I still want the outcome, but I want the outcome also not to just be about me. It's about my team, or it's about my family, or, whatever that is.
I like that. I like where Jamie talked about joy and contentment. and you're talking about like making sure that someone else also is elevated or watching someone else, to me, that's what winning is to me now. I don't know that it was ever about the win-win because I don't work hard enough for it to be about the win-win. But
I
today,
disagree with that now. You work really hard now.
I
And you
do
love what
now.
you
But when I
do.
was younger, like I don't think that I had the energy or the interest to do everything that was necessary to really, really be successful. And then now I feel like if I can help someone else reach their goal, it's like I reached it with them. Even if I don't
Yeah.
post about it, because I don't post my clients. I don't go, oh my gosh, so and so won, and it's because of me. I tend to, in fact, if you look at my social media, you're like, does she work? Because I tend to forget about the promotion side of it. But when I have a client who succeeds, it's like I feel like a bit of me did too, and that makes me feel good.
Yeah, I
I,
love watching other people succeed. And I'm going to go back to something Carissa said, that I do have to check myself about just I see a lot of potential in people, and I find myself sometimes wanting things for
investing.
more, investing and wanting things from more than they do. And so I kind of have to remind myself like, hey, not everybody has, the freaking high achiever mindset that you have
Mm-mm.
of like just go, go, go. Some people are totally fine with where they are in life, but I do find myself getting wrapped up in the potential of other people because like I said, I can just see it in people, and I want them to have that moment or to just really succeed. It brings me so much joy. Going back to the joy, like I love seeing other people succeed, but you do have to meet people where they are, that like sometimes your goals and aren't theirs.
Yet another thing that Jamie and I are aligned with. I say in another life, we were probably like the same person or twin sisters potentially. Um, but I work in business strategies and partnerships, and I love that title because I think that it really does encompass everything we're talking about. It's strategizing for others' success, it's building partnerships that elevate others. And so I love that. I don't have any qualms about it at all.
What's been a defining moment in your life? It can be business related, pageantry related, personal, anything that comes to mind.
Go ahead, James.
Make me go
I feel like I
first.
know what one is for you, but I'm not going to say it. I'm going to see if you say it.
That would be
Ah,
funny if y'all shared each other's. That'd be funny.
Oh, that would be
huh.
fun.
Oh, geez. I've had a lot of defining moments. Probably the hardest time for me was in 2018. I lost two friends back to back,
Mm.
two of my male best friends. One had a year-long journey with cancer, and one passed away from like a heart, what is called pulmonary embolism. It's
Mhm.
hard to say. So I had the experience of losing one person over a year's period where I had to prepare for that and journey him into his end of life. And then the other side of the coin was losing somebody. Just I was talking to them at 4 o'clock and they were passed away at 8:30.
Oh, wow.
So I think that was a really defining moment in just understanding how life can be so fleeting, on both sides of, one day my friend was fine, and then the next day he had pancreatic cancer and we're on this cancer journey, and then he's gone. And then the other friend just being gone in a split second. And it just really taught me a lot about the journey of life. And I can't think of really anything that was more impactful to me than being there till the very end of my friend's cancer journey, like literally to the very end of his life, and kind of helping him with family management and talking about all of that stuff. Yeah, I think that that just kind of changed me and helped me align priorities, and kind of goes back to what I was saying about understanding winning
Mhm.
is really just making the most of your life and the everyday moments, because I saw how quickly it could be taken away.
Yeah, sometimes
Now I'm
brief.
curious what
Yeah.
Carissa what was going to say that my defining moment was,
Well,
because
I
I mean I've
wasn't in
had so
your, but
many.
I've had so many too. Um, well, I'll tell that in a minute, but I would say I've had so many as well. And I would say my life, one thing that defines me is pivoting. I
Mm.
feel like I've pivoted so many different times in my life, and I've literally lived like three different careers in my life. And I love that because I feel like it touches on all the different parts of me that are me, that make me me. But the most defining, Jamie knows this probably, is my father passed away about 3 years ago. And when I say that, I still feel like a gut
Mm.
tightening and frozen a little bit. I don't know that you ever get over, and I don't talk
Mhm.
about it a lot actually, but when I do, unfortunately, it's with Jamie and I start crying, I feel like. But yeah, I think loss in general is something that you can never prepare for, even
Mhm.
if you know it's coming, just because it leaves a hole and an emptiness. And it also, though, does help you. I don't want to say it's a blessing, but it does open your eyes to what you have and who you have in your life, and who you're willing to have in your life. So,
And that makes sense too, because I feel like if you've never lost anything or anyone, then are you really seeking something to be grateful for? Or had a loss in general? It doesn't even have to be a human loss, but it's something that makes you stop for a minute, reassess, and say, wait a minute, there are things that I need to be grateful for because they don't have to be here and they
right.
could be taken tomorrow. So I think
Right.
that's a huge point. So a lot of the people that I would think probably watch my podcast or listen to it probably are striving for success in something. So whether that's, business, life, pageantry, any advice you would give to someone, no matter where they are in their life, that's maybe made a big impact on you?
For me, I consider myself an opportunist. I am always looking for opportunity with every person that I meet and every experience that's offered to me. Somebody said on our podcast that it was Sonia Gavankar. She was Miss CC, and she said something about like how she had to learn to say no to things so that she could say yes to the things that really mattered. I think it was her that said that, and I was like that. I relate to that so much because I want to do everything, and sometimes I say yes to so much that I am not focused on the things that are best for me. So my advice, I guess, to any young woman or man out there is just to keep your eyes wide open on what things could turn into, or who you could network with, or who you could bring two people together to make something happen for them. That's where my mindset always is how can I turn this into something great? How can I turn this new friendship into something great, or this project? And don't be always running to the no and the reasons why you can't do something, but try to think about why you can. And you'll just be amazed at how some things can start one place and end up so much bigger somewhere else.
That's so true. If you have that negative mindset and you're focusing on all the no's, you're going to see more of them. You're going to be affected by them. But when you're looking forward to, ooh, this new person, what can we make happen? And like you guys coming together and starting a podcast and continuing your friendship in this way, that's a huge opportunity that you took advantage of.
Yeah, but
Sure.
both of us are, we're always visualizing too of like, this could be this, or what if this person, you know, grabbed onto our idea? We're still hoping that Miss America will partner with us at some point and that we can make a bigger impact than just our little podcast, that we can really do something with the Miss America pageant. So we're always thinking bigger, better possibilities. And like you said, you always meet those people that are just like they're always thinking of the reason why something won't happen, and I'm
Mhm.
always trying to remind people of the possibilities that's there if you just open your mind a little bit wider.
For sure. When I was little, I had a poster on my closet door, and I was a dancer. And honestly, at the time, all I wanted to do was dance. I could have cared less about school. Like, I mean, I did well in school, but I just don't remember being intentionally caring that much about it, but I did okay. But I did care about dance. Like during the day, all I wanted to do was think about dancing after school. And I had a poster on my door, and you can find it online. It's a dancer in a white dress and an arabesque, which is your leg behind you. And it said, if you can imagine it, you can achieve it. If you can dream it, you can become it. And every night before bed, I would read that poster to myself. And believe it or not, I think that had a huge impact on me because it was right in front of me every morning when I woke up and every night before I went to bed. And my son actually, I used to tell my boys that when they were little. I used to say that to them. He actually got it tattooed on his thigh. So it made an impact on him too. But I do believe that no, you cannot, other people, I mean, I look sometimes to Jamie like for courage or for the right words, but no one can really give you that but yourself. You have to, I think there's always hope. I believe there's always hope. And I believe that there's always a way to dig deeper and figure it out. But the final thing is mindset. And I think you touched on that too, but mindset is everything.
And another thing, Karissa, what you're always nagging me about because we haven't done this for the podcast, but writing things down is huge too. Writing out your goals sometimes it feels disingenuous because you're like writing things down that you just are like, there's no way that I'm going to do this thing that I want to do. But I'm going to write it down anyway. And I can't tell you how many times I've done that. And I'm writing this down. I'm like, this exercise is so stupid. And also, I'm never going to hit this goal, but I'm going to write this very scary number down of what I'm going to hit for my sales goal at work or whatever. And then I'll come back a year later and look at those goals and I'm like, oh my gosh, I really did that. Or sometimes 2 or 3 years, it may not happen right away, but it's like a map, it's a road map for you where somewhere in your mind you have written this out, and now your mind and your heart knows the direction that it wants to go. And I really do believe that just the act of writing a list out somehow leads you to those big goals.
I agree. And it's so interesting you say that, Jamie, because I talk about that a lot with my own children, and they are really good at writing down their goals, and they don't come true immediately. That's the other thing. It's just because you write it down doesn't mean it's going to take a month, a year, 2 years to happen. It could take years for it to happen. But during COVID, I actually wrote down some goals for myself. And I can say since COVID, there have been some serious ups and downs in my professional life, but they just started to come to fruition recently with some work that I've been taking on. And it just blows my mind because that was what, 4 years ago when I had complete delusional confidence, I guess you could say. But the thing to me, I do want to circle back though, because I mentioned that you have to believe in yourself. Yes, but I think when you're younger, it's really good to have people who do see a path for you and do see your potential. And that's probably why Jamie and I both see others' potential, because I know both of us have had people in our lives, especially through the Miss America organization, who saw what our potential was before we did. And so I think when you're younger, that's really important. As you get older, like us, what's happened is they have instilled in you that they believe you can do it, which makes you believe as you're older that you can do it.
It's important because when we think about how self-image changes, our self-image grows and shrinks based on what we imprint. So what we tell ourselves, what happens around us, what happens to us, what other people tell us determines what happens with our self-image. And what you're saying is so true because your self-image needs two nutrients to grow. It needs confirmation from yourself. You've got to tell yourself you're doing a good job. And it needs confirmation from other people. So you need someone else who sees your potential, who cares about you, and is investing right back into you and complimenting you when it's possible so that you'll actually grow. And you were doing both of those things. So you had your poster on the wall. So you're telling yourself that you're going to do it. You're imagining it, all of the great imprinting, right? And your son with the thigh tattoo. I'm not a big tattoo person, but I'd be like, okay, that one's okay. And so, but then also having those mentors because of what you chose to do with your life and the way that you competed, it brought people purposefully into your life to invest back into you.
I can say that competing, this was nothing I ever thought I would do. Not this interview,
Hmm.
but the Miss America organization. That was not at all that wasn't in my path. And so I think the other thing is be willing to surprise yourself with what may come in your life that's positive. So I've always, as a mother, I've always encouraged my boys to get involved in a lot of things, and sort of the same thing. Like if it's a positive thing, try it. The more positive things you try, you figure out who you are and what you want to do and where you want to go. But never in my life was this something that I imagined.
So why'd you do it?
So, hmm. So I was dancer, as I mentioned, and I went away to a performing arts high school, and then I was dancing at Pennsylvania Ballet. I was really young when I went away, but I was so driven. I actually went away to a summer program, and they had an audition for the school year in Illinois. Now I lived in West Virginia, and I was 13, so I went to the summer program, and they had an audition for the school year, and I did the audition, but I didn't tell my parents
Oh.
because I didn't know. I was just like, I'm like an opportunist, like Jamie.
Mhm.
I was like, I'm just gonna do this audition. Why not? And I was home from the summer, and I was outside playing kickball with my brothers. And my mom yelled at me from the door, and she's like, Karissa, come here. And I came in. She's like, what is this? And I'm like, what is it? And she said, you got this scholarship to go to this school. And I was like, oh, yeah, by the way, I auditioned. Long story short, I went away, I danced, I ended up at Pennsylvania Ballet in Philadelphia. But when I left, here's the kicker. When I left, my dad said to me, if you ever want to come home, all you have to do is call.
Mm.
And by the time I was about 18 in Philadelphia, I was burnt out. I was drowning. I was not doing well. I was done. And I called my dad and I said, I want to come home. And he said, I'll be there in 3 hours. I was in Philadelphia at that point. And he literally got in the car and drove, packed my apartment up, and we left. And he took care of the rest, like, the apartment and all that. I'm getting there. But the point is when I went home, I was completely lost. I thought I was going to dance professionally my whole life. I never thought of any other career for myself. And I started waitressing. And my mom's like, you're doing really well waitressing, but I think you can do more than waitress. And I didn't know that I could. So I started taking classes at a junior college. And I really was engaged. I'm like, oh, this is kind of like I had never been engaged in school before, and I was really intrigued with the classes. Anyway, a local studio found out I was back in the area and asked if I wanted to come teach a class. They reached out to me a few months after I'd gotten back. Initially, I said, no, I don't want to. I was completely burnt out. But then she called again and she said, look, if you could just come cover a few classes for me. And I thought to myself, I don't even know how somebody taught me to do what I do.
Oh.
Like I've
Hmm.
never, like when you dance at a really high level or sing at a really high level or act at a really high level, you never think about breaking it down for someone else. And so I said, okay, well, I show up and it's a class of 5-year-olds. Every time I said stand, they sat. And every time I said sit, they would stand. And it was the longest 45 minutes of my life. And I want to say that even having 3 boys, that was the longest 45 minutes of life. But the interesting thing is another family that was there, the Carsons, Barbara and Leanne Carson, who Jamie knows well, who've been involved in the Miss Maryland organization for years. Leanne danced there. And her mom, Barbara, said, and Leanne came up to me a few weeks later and said, hey, would you ever want to compete? And I was like, what? No. Like, that's just not what I've never even thought about doing that.
Pageants? Ew.
Exactly. Pageants? No. And I had no idea what a pivotal moment that was in my life and how that would completely change the trajectory of my life, the people in my life, all of it. But anyway, I said yes. And the reason I said yes was I had lost my passion for dance and I wanted to approach dance in a completely different way. I wanted to do it for fun. I wanted to do it, for that reason, not for the million other reasons that I left. So that's how I got involved in it.
I love it. I love the power of the pivot. You're saying you
Yeah.
pivoted so many times that there's power in changing the trajectory of where you want to go with your life. Quick, Jamie, how did you get started pageantry?
I just was when I was in high school, there was someone else in my vocal studio that was doing it, and she became Miss Frederick. Her name was Tracy Luck. And to me, Tracy was and still is amazingly talented, but she just like she's just sort of this um African American queen, and like I just the absolute opposite of who I thought would be interested in doing pageants, and so and I was kind of more of a tomboy, but I thought, if Tracy is out there doing it, uh then maybe I can do it too. You don't have to like fit a certain look, a Barbie
Mhm.
doll or whatever it was. Like I really felt that she was being judged on her talent and her brains, because she definitely has both of those things going for her. And so it just intrigued me to go try out. And like Karissa, I just wanted to have an outlet for my talent. That was the main thing. I wanted to be up on the stage singing for people. I really did not care about anything else besides that. It was just a way for me to be up performing in front of people. And so I went and did Miss Frederick, which is my hometown in Maryland, and I won that. And then I went to Miss Maryland and I was first runner up to Carissa at 17, my first year. And so, of course, I was like, I'm next in line. And this is probably that pivotal moment
It
that you're
is.
talking about.
It
Now
is.
that
I love this story though. I love this about you. This is what I love about you. Like this
yeah,
says so much
I,
about how open you are
I,
to learning.
I totally forgot, but this is a pivotal moment. So I was like, I'm next in line. Of course, I was devastated that I didn't win. I cried and whatever, I had no
My
clue. Like
whole
I said,
court was miserable. I just want to put that out there. My whole
yeah,
court was
Chris
miserable.
is trying to be happy and everybody else is like at a funeral, right? I just had no idea. Like I was 17 and I I was so close, and I just thought like it just felt so devastating not to win, even though I didn't even realize what an achievement that was at
Mhm.
17. So the next year I was like, well, I'm just going to show back up and
Oh, you're gonna do nothing and
I'll
just show
I'll be
up
Miss
and
Maryland.
oh, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. This works
So
out
well, the
well for
first
you,
thing
I
that
bet.
the first thing that happened was I didn't win the first local that I competed
Mhm.
for, so that was a big wake up call. Like, okay, maybe this is a little harder. So I won the second local, and then I went back to Miss Maryland, and I didn't do a whole lot in that year to do anything different. I just showed back up expecting even better results. And I found myself in the Maryland Theater. The dressing room is in the basement, and I found myself in the basement listening to the top 10 performing, and I could hear them stomping around. And I
Uh-huh.
wasn't in the top 10. I didn't even make the top 10. And I was like, I am never going to feel this way again.
Mhm.
I am not going to show up, not putting in the work and being downstairs with everybody else upstairs. And so that's what Chris is getting at. That moment of just that feeling of knowing that I didn't do what it takes, and my consequence was hearing everybody else, and then thinking about my family and all my friends out there in the audience watching other people compete in the top 10 and me being downstairs and not even part of the show. And so my whole mindset changed after that. I started putting in, tons of work. I watched every VHS tape, just to tell you how old I am,
Mhm.
to figure out what is that it factor of all these state winners. Somebody gave me a box of like a bunch of Miss Americas and different state pageants, and I watched all of them. And you can always tell and identify, like almost from the second the person opens their mouth, like, yep, she's the one. She has that it. And I started digging really deep into myself of like, how can I project that out to the
Mhm.
judges to make sure that I'm on the stage. And so then the third year I was second runner up, and then the fourth year I won. So I feel like I would never have learned those lessons if I had won the first year. And then I would never have learned those lessons if I had won the second year. I had to lose, three
Mhm.
times to really get what I needed out of that. And I take that all through my life now. If I go into a meeting and I know I haven't put the work in, um, it's just I hate that feeling, that unprepared feeling, and being less than other people that are coming in hot. So big life lessons there for me, and definitely was a trajectory changer in terms of how I approach everything in life from that point on.
Well, I love all these stories. And so, what I want to do is, first of all, I want to thank you so much for being on the show. I want to encourage everybody to go check out Here She Is podcast because it's so good. You can listen to my episode. I'll put a link in the description, y'all. And then we're going to do a Patreon episode. So if you're not a Patreon member, join She Wins Solutions for Pageantry Patreon because I'm going to pick your brains about maybe how you do that deep dive to figure out what is it that you need to work on with you. So thank you so much, ladies.
Thank
you
you.
so much.